That was all on me. So there we
There
go.
you go.
So yeah, I'm Justin. I'm the newest engineer here at Kuber. If you haven't heard about Kuber before, it's the cubicle Uber. It's like cubicles on demand. It's really cool. You can just like rent a cubicle anywhere you want. And so I mean, I'm here in the park. Um, and I know it's kind of weird, this whole rental service thing. Like I read the handbook and like the, you know, legal loopholes of putting cubicles on top of like federal land is kind of weird, but I think they're pretty solid. So I'm excited to join. I've joined the team on the Kubernetes team, which is why I'm recording this video now. And my boss asked me to help fill in some of the gaps where our documentation was lacking. He said, or she, they said, there was a few things that just we didn't have documented, and it'd be good to fill that in. But I don't really like writing. I don't like writing documentation. So I was going to record a video instead. I thought it'd be cool. Maybe we do it with some TikToks or something. Maybe we do it just, a little cooler to see people watch it. And so here's documentation on how all of our Kubernetes clusters work here at Kuber. And to get started, I have a simple diagram, and I've been doing Kubernetes for a very long time. This isn't my first job doing Kubernetes, so I think I kind of know what I'm doing here with Kubernetes in general. So I'm gonna share the screen real fast, and I have a really cool diagram, and it's kind of weird here in the park because there's a lot of like birds and noise and stuff like that kind of comes around, but I like it. We're kind of in nature now, so this is great. So here comes my diagram here. And this is just, we run our infrastructure in the cloud, all these Kubernetes clusters, and we have front end and back end clusters. And so I thought it was great that I can just, diagram these out and just show you real quick, like where the clusters run. And it's all here, US East 1, that's where everything lives. And just from that, we can just put all the clusters in place. And oh, I'm sorry, my manager's letting me know. They said that. So my diagram's not complete. They did say there's a few more things here. So we kind of need another region here. That is going to be, US West 2, because that's where some more. We might need one more region here. I don't know all the details yet, but we probably have some clusters in other places. I'm going to go ahead and close Slack now because it's my first day. So I'm just going to, my manager can, just wait a little bit and I'll get back to them later. Yeah. So we closing out Slack now. Hopefully they don't, worry about that. It's my first day. I'm still going through some orientation. I'm trying to figure some of this stuff out. So we know that we have a lot of clusters. So how do we manage these clusters? And in the past, I go in the console, right? I just open up the console, I click some buttons, and it's been great job security. It's gotten me up to senior engineer places. It's been fantastic because I didn't really have to do a whole lot to. Oh, I don't remember giving my manager my number, but they apparently want me to talk. Let's go ahead and just turn that off too. So my manager wants me to really figure out how we're going to add some more of these clusters to this environment and how we're going to manage them. So I'm going to research some of that, and it's been kind of weird. I haven't met anyone else on the team. I don't know if that's odd or not. It's only my first day, and I mean the cubicles out here just like maybe that's just normal because everyone's remote. But like I don't know, I got some weird maybe red flags. The CEO also talked about like changing the name of the company today, wanting to like keep up with times. I don't know what that's all about. So I don't know. It's a little weird here. I'm still just figuring out the culture. Maybe it's I'll figure it out later. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my onboarding material. I got a lot of videos to watch, and I'll figure out a little more of this. How we're going to manage these clusters. I think the console's still going to work for us, but maybe there's a better way. So yeah, I'll get back to you and we'll figure this out soon. So don't worry about it. And I'll just keep these videos going once I have more information. So I'll see you in just a little bit. Hey, so I wanted to continue with what we were learning. Good news, I found the kitchen for the cubicles. It's kind of weird out here in the park. They just like sent me to a random Airbnb, and honestly, I don't even know if it was our kitchen or not. It was just, I mean, it was a kitchen. They had Kit Kats, so um, I also used their bathroom. I don't know. I don't know if I was supposed to or not. They didn't really tell me like what that's all about. Having cubicles out here, it's just weird. So I wanted to catch up with a couple things that I learned. First of all, my manager said we do infrastructure as code. I'm like, cool. I read a whole bunch about that last night. I figured it out. I learned like what's infrastructure as code. And so what we do is you write like text files and then you just have like bash like apply it instead of going to the console. And it was great. Like it worked amazing. So um my boss sent me over oh, where is it? Yeah, here it is. He sent me over this. Let me share my screen here and we'll keep recording. Our infrastructure as code repo. And I think it's great. Let me open it up here. I haven't seen it yet. But I think we can. Here we go. All right, so here's the repo. Well, that's weird. Okay, well, it looks like I need to add some things to it. I thought maybe he told me we had infrastructure as code, but maybe they started the repo and okay. So first thing that I got to do is I did learn about this tool for Kubernetes clusters that we're using called EKS control, and we use these EKS clusters. So I can do things like EKS control new cluster, and then I can like give it just like a text file. The text is formatted weird. It has like spaces in it. I don't know. And it'll create clusters for me. So I'm going to look at that just a little bit more and I'll figure out like how we do this infrastructure as code thing because I think it has a lot of potential and I really think that if we use it well, then maybe I don't have to go to the console anymore. Maybe I can just it'll work itself out. But yeah, we'll let's look at that. So I'll be right back and we're gonna figure this out. Don't worry, I'm not going far. Yeah. So one sec. I'm back. Okay, I figured it out. Like this, it took me not long ago at all. I mean, that was what it felt like 2 seconds, but really it was like an hour. So uh, let me show you what I got here, and so here's what I did. I took all of the clusters that we had, a bunch of them that I found. I'm still figuring out which ones we have, and I just put them into text files. So if I look here, I can get all the clusters and I can just like access it all right. I mean, I don't know like who created these or anything, but I probably have to figure out who Jake is because they have a cluster. But this is I just took these and I made them text here and I put them in a repo. And I think that's infrastructure as code. At least that's what I like how I understood it. And these mosquitoes out here in this park are getting me. But here's the cool thing. We have this Jenkins server. It's called Janky. I don't know, like maybe I don't know. It's Jenkins. I think it's legit Jenkins, but I'm not sure. And so what I did was I put all these in a repo and check it out. I have a for loop in Bash that just takes all these files and like deploys them anytime that I want. So I can commit code here and then Jenkins just goes and deploys all these clusters. And so anytime I want a new cluster, I just add another file. And it's great because then I don't have to do it. I still haven't met anyone on my team, but I think together, together whoever we hire next, we'll be in a better place because they don't have to figure out where everything is, and maybe they don't need to like, go to the console as much. They can just go in here. It's just a big repo full of YAML files, and that's code. So we'll be able to apply those, and everything will work out. So I don't see why this is really a problem. Uh, so I'm going to go ahead and deploy some of these, and hopefully by the time I come in tomorrow, we'll wrap up this training. We'll be completely done. I mean, like it sounds like we're coming here to an end. And, oh, it looks like my manager really wants to know like how, oh, they want to manage clusters too. That's okay. We'll figure out how that works. We might have to teach my manager what YAML is and that kind of stuff. But we're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna deploy these clusters. And I think we're gonna be done. This is kind of like it. Like infrastructure is code. We have a repo. We have code, and we have Jenkins that does it. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm a bit optimistic here, but I think we're gonna be good. So let's follow up tomorrow, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up this training. I think we're all set there. So I'll be right back. Um, sorry I'm late. Um, so I had to get in a cubicle. I was up so late last night. Um, so someone went in the console and changed a bunch of stuff with the clusters, and then I don't know, like a bunch of them broke. I had to figure out like what was going on. I think we figured out, how to fix it, but that was a long night. Honestly, I didn't even know I was on call. I don't know how PagerDuty got my number, but I was up all night. So I'm a little late here, but I want to tell you about what I learned last night about infrastructure as code and how this we might need to change some of this. So this is whoever's coming next, like you have to learn this too, and hopefully you don't have to learn it the hard way like I did. Okay, so let me diagram this out for you. Let's share that screen again. There's still something weird about this place. I don't know why. Like, I still haven't met anyone on the team. I don't know. I'm figuring out. Like, hopefully we get more people, but I can't do that. So here's what I learned last night. Big difference between infrastructure as code and what we're doing now. So in infrastructure as code, I told you we had all those files, all of the YAML files, and we had our let's just do a generic Git repo here. Wherever you're storing it's fine, but you have some sort of CI/CD process, and it takes those files and it applies them to an API, to your cloud, wherever you're running your infrastructure. Usually that's going to be some infrastructure provider. It worked great for a little while, but I think I mentioned that my manager wanted to like do some stuff with the clusters. And so they went and they did stuff in the console and they clicked around. And so we had this process broke basically, where the Git repos were so out of sync with what was running that we couldn't get it back to a normal state. Literally last night was trying, let me run Terraform. I learned about Terraform, like maybe that would help. It did a little bit. I was able to do a few more things and kind of consolidate some more stuff. One of the problems we had with this original cluster thing was these files were only the clusters and nothing else. Nothing else about the infrastructure was managed as code. So like our VPCs, our gateways, everything else was just someone went and did it. So I tried to like roll all that into like the same repo and make it all happen with Terraform. And then I ran into a problem because like that's all one big state file. If you've ever, I don't know, like this state file has a lock on it when things are running. And so we tried to have multiple people working on it, and things kind of got crazy. It's just, we had to recover a state file in Terraform. It was a lot of learned things. Hopefully this training is going to help you and you don't have to do that too. So we did learn that you can separate out like your state, your infrastructure into different things. And it's kind of a good practice to say, my VPCs don't change that often. So maybe they go in their own state file. My IAM is managed by a different team. And so it can go in its own state file. And then over here we have, like our clusters. This should be its own separate thing, but you can reference pieces where I could say, oh, the VPC from over here. So if the VPC changes, I don't have to go back through and edit all those files because that's where I started. But then we still had the problem of someone clicking in the console and things changed and we couldn't revert it because it just wasn't a thing. So like the state diverged too much. So I discovered this thing called infrastructure as software, which is like infrastructure as code because you still have a repository of code. But one of the things we had different was there's a controller here. There's a reconciling controller that constantly runs. Like it's actually software that always applies the code that I wanted. So instead of only running this apply when my code changes, it just constantly runs it. And it's great because literally after we switched to this, someone went in the console and changed something and it changed it right back. It's like, nope, you're not allowed to do that. So a big help there with this infrastructure as code thing. And there's a couple other benefits here. One of the things that I found really cool was this open gitops. And open gitops is kind of like this notion of infrastructure as code, but it's more infrastructure as software because there's this gitops controller that runs inside the cluster. And so another cool thing about this was the old way we had it set up, this Jenkins server right here was shared with all of our teams. And it actually had IAM credentials to every account, every region, every project that was in our organization. So it was a pretty big kind of security like issue. Like maybe this isn't okay. Maybe we should switch this up. And someone on the team was like, oh, well, this infrastructure software thing, you put these controllers in the clusters themselves. And so where your repo of code is, they do a pull base instead of a push. And so it was really cool actually, because then once we started learning that, we could have multiple controllers doing these pulls, and each one only needed IAM for what it was applying. Each controller was segmented, and so it made it easier for us to validate, what was running because it's always applying that state, but then also limiting what it had access to do, which was, again, really kind of scary. And so we started switching over to this, and I learned another thing that in Kubernetes, there's this thing called cluster API. Usually it's called CAPI, and it actually like makes clusters as Kubernetes objects. There's another bug in here. I don't know what's going on. I thought being out here, oh, well, I guess it's all the cows. I thought, like this CAPI thing allows us to like declare our clusters as YAML inside the Kubernetes cluster, which was great because then our GitOps controller looks at those CRDs and pulls them. And so we set literally all of this up last night. It was kind of amazing to do. And so here's what we ended up with. We also structured our repository a little different. If I look at our repo now, we still have some of those old things here. I didn't clean them up yet, but we actually segmented out the different teams. So like our front end team has 2 regions that they deploy their clusters to. And then in here, we have a full CRD spec for what the cluster is. And these are Kubernetes objects. So the amazing thing here is I don't actually have to switch my tooling to like look at the cluster and deploy the cluster. I don't need to switch between AWS CLI and kube control or something else. So I can go, where'd my mouse go? There it is. I'm calling out to our CAPI cluster, and there's an object called clusters. And I say, hey, get me all of the clusters that you know about. Oh, and I did it wrong. That's the wrong cluster. Let's try this one. Is this one right? Yeah, there it is. Look at that. So these are Kubernetes objects that are in the Kubernetes cluster, and these controllers are applying that. And it's a infrastructure as software model where the controllers constantly keep those in sync. So when anyone goes into the console and tries to change it, we're good. And I can do a real quick. I can actually get the whole spec for one of these clusters, which again, it has status, it has where it's deployed. Everything about that cluster is known inside this controller because the controller is the one actually doing it. So yeah, this model, infrastructure as software going forward, is all what I'm doing. In this GitOps controller pattern of limiting that IAM scope it's fantastic. So the only other thing that I need to figure out is what's going on at this company. This is kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be here so much anymore, but I'm gonna be right back, and then we'll finish up this training and we're all set, because I think we're in a pretty good state now. Yeah, I'll be right back. I'll stop that. Okay, someone just sent this to me. I can't believe I never found this before. There was a news post about Kuber last week. Here, just listen. We take a break from Kubernetes for just a second for some breaking news. For the first time I'm seeing this is, I don't know. Oh, freaked out. Might explain some things, but we'll have to wait. The cubicle sharing service Kuber had another engineer disappear. The service allows you to list your unused cubicles to share them with the community no matter where they are. Unfortunately, this is the third engineer that's disappeared in the last 2 weeks.
What?
Management's unclear if they just decided not to come into work or actually were gone.
That's what they told me.
Eyewitnesses report that the engineers disappeared in a flash of light. It's uncertain yet if this is at all Kubernetes related, although some people that have disappeared were on the Kubernetes team. Justin will have more on this story next week at All Day Devops, as this story is still developing. Okay, way too weird. I'm not. Whoever's watching this recording, I'm in cubicle 678. I hope I left the infrastructure in a better place. The management told me that they're like, oh yeah, they just didn't show up. I don't believe that anymore. So, yeah, they can. Nope, I'm not sticking around for that. So, hopefully you like this this training. I don't know, like good luck. All right, the infrastructure should be better than it was before, but I'm getting out of here. That's too scary. So, yeah. All right, thanks.
Hey Siri. Hey Siri.